Day by day, more and more Jewish families are thrown out of their homes, robbed of their belongings, their lives. Bearded Jews are pulled from the sidewalk by their beards. With burning cigarettes, their beards are put ablaze. Their screams of horror and pain create a spectacle for the Nazis, whose shouts of pleasure drown out the cries of torment. April 1940. The sky is sunny and bright. The little white clouds gliding slowly through the clear blue sky look so gentle, so pure. The hearts of the people below are heavy. Saba and I are on our way to the post office to mail a registered letter to our relatives in Argentina. Saba is my cousin and one of my best friends. Her big brown eyes, always smiling, mischievously from under her long dark eyelashes, today look sad, bewildered. Her sweet, gentle face has become stern and cold. I look at Saba and wonder, have I changed that much too? For a long time we walk in silence, Saba and I, the two who always had so much to say, so much to get excited about. School, clubs, boys, so many plans to make for our future. It is all so far away now, so unimportant. I am 13, Saba 15, but we are not young anymore. I glance at Saba, and my eyes pause at the yellow star on her coat. I look at the yellow star on my coat. Around us, I see others wearing the yellow star that marks us as Jews. I take Saba's hand in mine. Saba, are you ashamed of wearing the yellow star of disgrace? She looks at the yellow six-pointed star a moment, and her eyes light up with pride. Why should I be? She asks, holding her head high. The Star of David is a Jewish symbol, and I am proud to be a Jew. What we are wearing is only a yellow piece of cloth. Let those who make us wear it feel shame. Suddenly, a heavy hand grabs my shoulder with force. A loud voice shouts, Jews, halt! Off the sidewalk! I feel chills running down my spine. My feet feel numb. I cannot move. The cold, piercing eyes of the Nazi cut into my heart. I remain frozen. One kick of his boot, and I am in the gutter. I see rings before my eyes and seem to be floating like a little white cloud. Slowly I open my eyes. My head hurts. Somebody's helping me up. Around me I see men, women, children, all with the yellow star on their clothing. I look frantically for Saba. I cannot see her. Saba, Sabka, I call. No reply. The crowd on the street is getting bigger. Women with babies, children carrying school books, men in work clothes, men in Hasidic garb, all puzzled, frightened, pressing closer and closer together. From time to time we hear shots, screams, and painful silence again. Through my mind runs a horrible thought. We are going to die. My heart starts pounding violently. Suddenly I imagine Mama's face, gentle and stained with tears. I break out crying. I hear her whispering, Be brave, my child, be brave. Like a revelation, bright and clear, it comes to me. The bravest person I have ever known is my mama. She was a very young woman when my father died suddenly during a typhus epidemic. She had 6 young children and was expecting the 7th. My little brother, Avram Moish, is named after my father and my grandfather, who also died that same year. I was 5 then, too young to understand her tragedy. Only now, facing death, I realize what bravery, what courage it took for Mama to go on. Just a few months ago, Mama helped her 3 older children, Mala, Shanna, and Yankali, pack a few things and sent them away to be smuggled across the border to Russia. I'll stay here with the little ones, she said. I'll keep a home ready until you can return safely. The Germans won't hurt women and children. Often I hear her crying at night and whispering softly to herself. Are they safe? Are they starving? Do they have a roof over their heads? My poor children. Could they be lost somewhere in a distant land, homeless, cold, and hungry? If she should lose me now, I must be brave. I must have hope. The crowd around me is swelling larger and larger. There are hundreds of people now, surrounded by German soldiers pointing rifles at us. Forward march, sounds a German command. Forward march. Hundreds of feet, little feet of small children, heavy feet of men and women, begin a march to the unknown. Faster, faster, shout the Germans, shooting their rifles over our heads. Screams of panic cut through the air. Run, run, faster, faster. Suddenly, stop, stop, again, run, run, and again, stop, stop. People trample one another. Before me is an expectant mother. She can hardly catch her breath. A man near her is trying to help her stay on her feet. The German soldier at her sides notices this. He jerks the woman out of line and kicks her behind. She falls flat on her stomach. Her horrified screams pierce our hearts, and I hear a voice behind me shout, "God in heaven, why are you silent?" Someone reaches out to help the pregnant woman, and his head is split open by a German rifle butt. Blood streaming over his face, he lies near the woman. We run, stop, run, stop. From a distance, I see our neighbor, Mr. Avner, the kind, generous man who buys us treats and chats with us children. He always listens so closely, such a gentle person. I wish I could speak to him now. Mr. Avner, I call. He does not hear me. Mr. Avner, I call again. He turns his head in my direction. He sees me. He shouts something, but I cannot hear him. He points to his short, graying beard and lifts it high. I get the message. Chin up. Then I lose sight of him. I feel someone's hand clutching mine. I turn to my left. The brown, frightening eyes of the little boy look pleadingly to me. His fingers dig into my skin as if he were trying to attach himself to me, seeking protection from the horrors around him. He is about 10 years old. Under one arm, he carries a Hebrew book. He looks like a small, helpless animal caught in a trap. I pull him tighter to my side. Our eyes meet in silent understanding. "Forward, march!" shout the Germans, strengthening their command with shots. Run, stop. Run, stop. We pass the same streets again and again. They are chasing us in circles. We are still in the same section of Lodz where they herded us together. I hold on tightly to my new little friend. His closeness gives me strength. Suddenly, I hear a familiar, throaty, incoherent sounds behind me. I turn my head. In the crowd separated from me by many people, I see my deaf-mute friend Abram. His eyes raging with frustration, his arms moving frantically. Husky sounds tearing from his throat. He is trying to answer the German who is poking him with his rifle while asking him something. Abram became my neighbor and friend 5 months ago. He is 16. He has a brother and sister who are also deaf-mutes. I learned to communicate with them and gain their trust. We discovered that their teacher, Mrs. Lichtenstein, whom they all love and respect, is a friend of my family, and I too love her. This brought us much closer together. Abram has a keen mind. We speak to each other with pencil and paper, but I also understand the sounds of his silent throat, the sounds I hear now, resentful and bitter. I am trying to get his attention by waving to him. I know he cannot hear me. Still, I call, "Abram, Abram!" The German is getting angry at him. He will hurt him. I scream, "He is a deaf-mute. Help him, please. Help him." People around me pass it on. He is a deaf-mute. He is a deaf-mute. The woman near Abram pleads with the German, "Please have pity. Let him be. He is a deaf-mute." The German looks at Abram with disgust and shoves him back into the crowd. Thank heaven. Slowly, I make my way forward toward Abram, still holding on to my little companion. Abram sees me now. He pushes toward me with all his strength and grabs my free hand. His eyes shine with joy. We press each other's hands. How wonderful to see a friend. The sun is slowly disappearing, giving way to the darkness of the evening. I keep on thinking of Mama, the pain she must be suffering. It was early morning when Saba and I left home on a small errand, and now it is evening. Her heart must be breaking. With Jews shot daily, people must be taken to the Gestapo to be tortured. How horrible it must be, waiting in despair, not knowing where a child is, not knowing if I am alive or dead. Stop and go. Pushed, kicked, we are led to the railroad station. Gunshots cut through the air. People groan, cry, pray. Suddenly we hear, "Halt! All men to the left, women and children. All men to the right, women and children to the left." We all seem to be frozen. "Move, move, faster, faster," shout the Germans, pulling men to the right, cursing and hitting them. From all directions, voices call names, addresses. "Tell my family, give them my love, tell them not to worry." Children crying, women screaming, men shouting frantic messages, all mixed together in a loud roar of terror, anger, pain. I feel my little friend's nails digging into my flesh. I look at him. His pale face, is a frozen mask of horror. Maybe it is the reflection of my own face. I wish I could smile to calm him. How do you smile in this madness? I pull him and Abram close to me. The Germans separate all the men from the women and children. Surrounded by the soldiers, rifles pointed at them, they move forward. The women and children remain motionless. Our bewildered eyes follow the men as they disappear from sight. We are free to go home. In painful silence, shocked, trembling, Abram and I walk our little companion home. The streets are covered in darkness, deserted. It is long past the hour of curfew for the Jews. From many doorways worried, frightened eyes stare, searching in the dark for familiar faces. Outcries of joy and screams of despair fill the night. Elation on seeing a loved one alive and safe. Grief, agony on receiving the tragic news. Your husband, your father, your son are not coming home. A woman runs toward our little friend with outstretched arms. He runs into her waiting embrace. Goodbye, my little comrade of the horror caravan. I realized then that I never asked him his name. His pale-faced, his horrified eyes will always remain with me. Abram and I run now, home to see our families again, to feel the loving arms again, to feel safe again. In front of the apartment house, they are waiting. Mama, her face ashen, her eyes swollen from crying. My little brothers, Motel, Labal, Moshel. Saba is also with them. Thank heaven. Abram's parents, brother, sister, stand in the doorway. All of our neighbors are waiting. I see Mrs. Avner. My heart stops. How do I tell her? How do I tell her? They are coming! They are coming! I hear Motel shout with joy. In seconds, Mama's arms are around me. I feel her hot tears on my face. They blend with my own tears as I hear her whisper, I thought I lost you. I thought I lost you. Mrs. Avner never sees her husband again. The men of our caravan of horror are sent to labor camps or shot.